Right, 1 November 2021, and I'm joined by Mr. Kennedy Mandaza from ZANU PF South Africa. How are you, sir?
I'm good, and you?
Fantastic. So, Mr. Mandaza, today we have a very quick discussion on the report by the UN Special Rapporteur, Professor Elena Douhan. Have you seen her report? Have you managed to go through it?
Yes, thank you so much. I've seen the report. Our leadership has also seen the report, and we have gone through that report. And our response to the report that was given by the United Nations Special Rapporteur is a report of a preliminary findings. We feel vindicated as ZANU PF, we feel vindicated as Zimbabwe, and we feel that our dignity has been restored because the misinformation that had been planted into the minds of people by our detractors that we are human rights violators has been demystified. The correct position, according to the rapporteur, is that the United States of America and its allies have imposed the illegal sanctions on Zimbabwe that are against the international law, and these have caused untold human rights violations on the people of Zimbabwe. So for us, we have been vindicated. We are not the perpetrators. The perpetrators is America, who have imposed sanctions that have caused so many untold suffering and deprived Zimbabweans of their enjoyment of human rights.
Okay, so let us quickly look at the recommendations made by Professor Elena Douhan, and I want us to then ask you the next question after that.
I'm calling for a structural dialogue, not only within the country. There shall be a dialogue between the government of Zimbabwe as well as other states. And I was very happy to find out, after talking to the representatives of diplomatic community, that this dialogue has started. I have heard from all of them that they are in the process of negotiation, and that's a good start. Maybe the way forward will be a long one, but the beginning, every road starts with the very first step. The same exists at the national level. As I can observe, there is very high level of polarization in this society as concerns the approach of the problem of sanctions. That's why I call probably we shall forget about the sanctions rhetoric as an advocacy tool. Probably we shall start speak about law, facts, and human rights protection.
Right, so Mr. Mandaza, you saw Professor Elena Douhan there saying that there's need for dialogue between the government of Zimbabwe and the sanctions imposers, and also between the government of Zimbabwe and other internal parties. What is happening now on the ground? Has this started? What are the plans?
As far as ZANU PF is concerned, ever since the coming in of President Mnangagwa, one of his policies was that of engagement and re-engagement. And he made it a priority that we engage with those that we have not been engaging with for quite some time, and we also continue to re-engage. And this has been the thrust of the government of Zimbabwe, talking to almost everyone who is prepared to listen to us in an engagement process, so that we build bridges, so that we become equal partners in the global village, where we are not seen as subservient to any other nationality or any other country. And that is the essence of the engagement process, so that we can work together, since countries are interdependent on a number of things. And with regards to the processes taking place in the country, the president has been very clear that anyone who intends to engage the government can do so. That is why he came up with a platform which is called Pollard, where all political players are invited to come in and discuss issues that are pertinent to the growth and development of our country. And this is an ongoing process. We are aware that there are others in the political, in the opposition, who are putting conditionalities on when and how they should be accepted into this particular dialogue. But the president is quite listening. He's a listening president. He has put in this platform so that the engagement can continue. And we welcome the report and the recommendation from the special rapporteur, which says that, which stresses on the need for us to continue to engage. But engagement is a two-way process. Those that we should be engaging with should also be in a position to give in on some of the things that we'll be discussing in the engagement. It can't be ZANU PF or the government of Zimbabwe giving in to all demands that are set by people that would want to engage with us. We believe we are an equal partner. We value the sovereignty of each country, the independence and the internal politics of each particular country. And we think that people should also accept us on that basis.
Okay, that brings us to the comments by the permanent representative of the USA to the UN. And I think let me just quickly play it and then we'll ask you the question afterwards.
I have not seen the special rapporteur's report out of Zimbabwe, but let me be clear. Our sanctions target individuals and institutions that are committing human rights violations. And we make every effort to ensure that those sanctions do not impact the people. What is happening in Zimbabwe is a result of bad policies in Zimbabwe. What is happening in Zimbabwe is the consequence of their leadership. It is not a consequence of our sanctions. And we will always resist any criticism of us that says our sanctions are the result of our sanctions are impacting people unfairly. And you certainly will see that we will be criticized for this. We're criticized for it by the government because they know that they are responsible for these actions. And I regret that the special rapporteur made the decision to put this in his report.
Okay, Mr. Mandaza, what is the official position of ZANU PF on this response by Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield?
Let me say that I'm not necessarily giving the official position because we are not in the habit of commenting whenever we have individuals, particularly those in the opposition, make their remarks. Because in this regard, we find the Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield commenting on a report that she has not seen. And I think they are miffed by the fact that the recommendations that have been made by the special rapporteur makes them the perpetrators, and no one would be happy to be referred to as a perpetrator of human rights violations. Yet, on the other hand, they feel that what they've been doing is right. So our position remains the same. We welcome the report by the special rapporteur, and it is very clear that what we have been saying all along, that the sanctions are illegal, 1. 2, they are against international law, hence the Americans and their allies put them unilaterally, which is against international law. And they should accept and see that. Besides that, what is more important is that America and its allies do not have any moral local standard for them to preach on what should be done in Zimbabwe. It is the responsibility of Zimbabweans to dictate and decide on who should lead them. And whatever is going to happen in Zimbabwe in terms of the leadership of the country, it is on the shoulders of the Zimbabwean people. So whatever she has said, well, it is expected from people who are angry and who have been found on the wrong of international law and even on the wrong of human rights, where they've been violating the Zimbabwean people. And it is expected, and we will base on what the United Nations rapporteur, special rapporteur said, that the sanctions are illegal, they are against international law, and they were imposed unilaterally, leading to a gross human rights violations in Zimbabwe.
Okay, what will happen, or what will ZANU PF do if the United States continues to say that they are not accepting the report by the UN Special Rapporteur?
Well, the onus is on the Americans to take their stance. The stance of the Zimbabweans is that in the adversity of these sanctions, which we have borne for the past 2 decades, we'll continue to try as much as is possible to engage and re-engage with those that are willing to partner with us in the development of Zimbabwe. But more importantly, ZANU PF government and its leadership will continue to use the local resources to grow and develop Zimbabwe so that we can achieve Vision 20 and also make sure that we live up to the demands of the goals that were set by the United Nations, which we are supposed to be part of. And that is what we have been doing so far, to make sure that we use the local resources and also work with those partners that are willing to work with us on an equal basis. And we are quite grateful to our region, SADC, and Africa in general, who have stood with us at this particular time, and will continue to rely on them, including China and other countries that have been with us. If the Americans decide not to do what they've been asked to do, then there is also another avenue. They can also be taken to the International Court of Law, Court of Justice, so that this issue can be ventilated there, and then we are so sure that they can be found on the wrong and they will be punished accordingly.
Okay, I think you have answered all the questions that I had regarding the response by Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield. I just wanted to end with the local opposition parties. In terms of dialogue, where is Pollard right now? There's not been much in terms of communication. Are you aware of what issues Pollard have been dealing with and whether they've made progress or not?
I may not be fully aware of what have been happening internally within within Pollard, but we know that Pollard has been engaging. They have been engaging under the auspices of Pollard, the political players, and they have made headway on trying to make sure that the issues that are of concern to the opposition, they are also addressed in that particular forum. And they've been so much progress, and we hope with the continued interaction that is taking place between government and or the political players, as it were, in Pollard, we will get to a point where the opposition and the ruling party will continue to work for the furtherance of the unity, peace, and the development of the country, which is primarily the goal of Pollard, so that that of making sure that whilst we have opposition and the ruling party, we have one common objective, that is serving the interest of the people of Zimbabwe. And one hopes that our opposition will continue to see the development of Zimbabwe as primary, as more important than getting leadership roles, because we, even when the people are in opposition, expect them to be pushing a developmental agenda, not that of calling sanctions for the people that they would want to lead at some point if they so happen to get into power. That, I think, means imply that our opposition, particularly those that are denying to get into Pollard, they are ill-informed, ill-advised, and the Zimbabwean people see through them. And I know that come 2023, they'll do justice to the opposition.
Okay, will the president consider modifying Pollard to suit the demands? I think you had the demands by the MDC alliance, which is they want a mediation by SADC. Is that a possibility?
Africa in general, SADC included, they have a firm belief and they've taken a stance that African problems should be solved by African people. And in likewise, Zimbabwean solutions require, Zimbabwean problems require Zimbabwean solutions. And these solutions come from Zimbabweans themselves. So the intervention by anyone else outside Zimbabwe is not necessary. And I don't think that at any given time, it will be recommended by our party that the president look at considering bringing in a mediator, because our circumstances dictate the solutions that we have. And the people that rightly know these circumstances and situations in which we are living are Zimbabwean people. So the demand by MDC to change what Pollard looks like, I don't think that it will be accepted in the near future.
Okay, then in terms of prosecution for people who call for sanctions, there was a talk of the Patriotic Act. Is that still on the cards?
We will, as ZANU PF, continue to push that we have this legislation put into effect so that we can have those people that are calling for sanctions prosecuted, because it makes no sense that a fellow Zimbabwean goes out to call for sanctions so that the generality of the Zimbabwean people suffer. So this legislation, we will make sure that those that are currently in parliament will will make sure that this piece of legislation see its light, and those that are found wanting surely should definitely be taken to task.
Okay, then my last question is on the 4 million members announcement by ZANU PF. Can you tell us more about the 4 million members, paid up members of ZANU PF?
As ZANU PF, we are excited by the mobilization strategies that we have put in place. And we still are working towards the 5 million membership that we require to have by 2023. And we are not talking about 5 million registered members. We are talking about 5 million people that are members of ZANU PF and also on the national voters roll. And currently, we have, through the restructuring that have been happening at cell level and branch level, managed to see the 4 million people registering. And this process is still ongoing. And we in the diaspora are also playing our part to make sure that we augment this number that is needed by our party. And we are also excited that the national conference that ended on Saturday came up with resolutions that are meant to make sure that we continue to be the party of choice in Zimbabwe by making sure that we deliver on the promises that we made in 2018 and also deliver on the resolutions that we made in the 2021 conference. And we are really excited. Like what the president said, we have already won the election, because we are working to make sure that we live up to the expectations, the hopes, and the needs of the people of Zimbabwe.
That's fantastic. And thank you very much, Mr. Mandaza, for joining me today. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
What I want to say is that ZANU PF is the party of choice. Anyone who is interested in joining ZANU PF, it's never too late. Come be part of the winning team, which is ZANU PF.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mandaza. And your number is on the screen for those that want to contact you on WhatsApp. Thank you very much, sir, for joining me today.
It's a pleasure.